an advocate of people doing the chores, and that's why it blocks it out. This is the laziest chat I've ever met. It doesn't like working. It doesn't like doing anything for anybody else.
It should have done chores when it was a kid.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
learned some good
it goes
discipline.
to show that if you don't raise a child in the ways of God,
Yeah.
it will be lazy and block out words like chores. So, Darcy, I want to apologize. And Darcy, I want to ask you, I've already asked you in the chat, but I'm just going to say it since we're hanging out here. You're having problems with the text-to-chat, which is when you text the word remedy to 313131. We want to know what problems you're having so that we can alleviate the problems you're having. Mm-hmm. We know that some, and I'll just say it, some are having problems around the country because their parents have placed a SMS blocker on the phone. And that's because some cases SMS does bill your phone. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes.
We do not.
We do not. Hey, we don't want any trouble. We don't. So hopefully that'll start to work for you because I feel terrible. Guys, yesterday my daughter and I were driving. It's Sunday. We're driving to church, and we were talking about Jesus. And she is a brand new little Christian girl. She's 7 years old. On her own time, in her own space, one night she said, Jesus, I want you to be boss of me. Okay?
That's cool.
Very precious, and she's such a smart little girl that she gets what that means, and it's changed her behavior. It's changed a little bit of the way that she thinks about the way she needs to help others. But yesterday we navigated for the first time Jesus as judge. And the reason we got on that conversation is because we were talking about someone taking somebody to court. She'd never heard that phrase before. And we talked about the fact that Jesus, is going to judge us. And she's always known that Jesus paid the penalty for her on the cross 2,000 years ago in a real event in history, so that she could, if she calls on him, and she has, to say, Jesus, here's my life, take it, run with it, show me the truth, show me the way to live, I will follow you, I will learn your teachings, and I will do what it is you've called me to do, love you and love my neighbor like I love myself. And she's learning that. She's 7, so she's learning that. But this judge thing, that was a kind of a unique thing. She's never seen Jesus in that light.
Yeah.
Because the judge typically is what? Kind of an ornery old man, maybe an old one, behind a big wooden,
Big gray beard.
Yeah. Gavel.
Gray eyes.
Ready to beat you down. And she'd never thought about Jesus that way. Jesus to her is this loving, bring all the children to me. And this judge thing is peculiar. Now, maybe judgment, maybe the judge, that metaphor, maybe that by society's standards has been made to be this objective, you're guilty. Maybe that's why it's often a negative thing. But I looked in the scriptures. I looked in our Teen Bible, The Cure, as I was kind of investigating this, and I came across Acts 17 when Paul is in Athens, and he's standing up before all the religious leaders there, and he's kind of describing to them what it means to know this God who created the earth, created all of us. It says that we're all his children. And it says in verse 29, since we are God's children, we must not think that he is like an idol made out of gold or silver or stone. He isn't like anything that humans have thought up and made. Well, that was important because we have kind of thrown our thoughts as to what we think God is.
Yeah.
And I even do it. And I can never, and I'll say this right now on the Ganga Show, I will never describe God even 1% of who he really is. I will try. I'll use his word. I'll describe him the best way I can through what he's given me. But what I think he is, based on what he truly is so different. He's going to be so much better than what I can describe him as. But it goes on. In the past, God forgave all this, what we've done, because people did not know what they were doing. And it's true, they didn't know. Jesus had not yet come, and now he had, of course, 2,000 years ago on the cross. We'll celebrate that as Easter. When we go and we remember that Jesus rose from the dead 3 days later. But it says, but now he says that everyone everywhere must turn to him. I was having lunch with a guy today and I said the same thing. I'm like, we all must turn to Jesus. He started us on this thing called life, and he will ultimately be the only one that will meet face to face when this life is over to give an account on how he made the life succeed or not. And that's kind of where the judgment part comes in. It says in verse 31, he has set a day when he will judge the world's people with fairness. Fairness. That isn't a word that often goes with Christianity, is it? Fairness. It often goes like judgment and homosexual people and angry and opinionated. But it says here that Jesus will judge the world with fairness. And it says, and he has chosen the man Jesus to do the judging for him. God has given proof of this to all of us by raising Jesus from the dead. Jesus is going to judge us. And the comfort I have today is knowing that a long time ago now, when I was 18 years of age, I said, Jesus, lead me. Now, I have made a ton of mistakes since. I have made a lot of horrible choices. I have regrets from the things I've done. But Jesus started leading me. And when I stand before Jesus as judge, he is going to say to me, Clinton, we've already taken care of this. I know that you and I are right because I've been leading your life. Now, you haven't always been perfect, bro. You have not been perfect. But I've got you covered because you've followed me. You haven't followed the idols that you created. You haven't followed the lies that this world has said. You haven't given yourself over to things like addiction and hopelessness and brokenness and self-serving things. You've followed me, and you've made mistakes. You stumbled. Oh yeah, but you've stumbled into my arms. You haven't stumbled into emptiness. And so, yeah, he's judged, but he's going to judge me based on what I did in giving him my life years ago. He's not going to judge me on the things that I've done since then because he's got them covered. But what about you? You know, right now, if you stand before God, before Jesus, are you guilty because you've chosen to say, you know what, God, screw you. I want to live my life the way I want. It's my life. I can do what I want. Well, it is your life, and you can do what you want, but you ultimately still have to say, I'm going to have to give an account for the days, the things, the choices, my actions, the way I treated others, but even the way I treated myself. That's going to be something I'm going to need to do. Am I ready for that? I would ask that you'd have Jesus be the advocate for your future, that he would be your savior. He'd be the one that would save you from yourself and from this ugly world that we live in, because he's going to judge us. And if we've given him our life, if you give him your life right now today, he will give it all back to you and say, you're covered, and I want you to have the best life possible now. Follow me. Follow me. So that is my dose of the day. That is all I've got to say. And how about some Britt Nicole? This is Gold coming to you from The Gong Show.